have some notes. Well, welcome to the Sports Wrap with George and Ringer. And I look outside, George, and last week we had complaints about how dark it was. Let the sun shine on us this week so everybody can see how wonderfully beautiful we are, George.
That sun comes out nice and bright like that, you know you're going to freeze your butt. It's really cold.
And she's a little chilly over the next couple of days. Keep yourself warm, and I suppose by the time some people watch, we'll already be over the hump of the bad stuff. As Wednesday, we're recording this on Wednesday night, and the bad stuff's supposed to be tonight, and then more. Whatever. We haven't had it for so long. It seems worse than maybe it actually is. So.
It's just like, what do we have to complain about? We live in International Falls. This is something that
this is what should be expected, I guess.
There's guys on here I know that it's never go anywhere where it's warm. They like it here.
Well, where would you like to start this week?
I'm going to tell you what. I want to go way off third base on this one.
Way off third base. All right, let's let it rip.
Some of the most remarkable competition I saw last night, was in Madison Square Garden, New York City.
Okay.
And we're talking about people like Bourbon the Whippet, Bono the Havanese,
I didn't think you were.
Seba the Standard Poodle.
This is way off third base, yes.
Conrad the Shetland Sheepdog, Wilma a boxer, Vinny a wire hair fox terrier, and Daniel. Oh, Daniel was the sweetheart of the meat, the golden retriever. And this, of course, I'm talking about Westminster. And so my wife humbly...
Which channel was it? Was this on NBC Sports Network last night?
CBS.
CBS,
like
okay.
219. And this...
Okay.
We've watched this for years and years. And so the big argument, and it was all over the internet today, there were a good many golden retriever fans that thought that Daniel should have won the top prize. Now, let me tell you this, you might not know this, then again you might. The Golden Retriever has been in a contest since the get-go and has never taken first place ever.
Wow.
And so this is, and Daniel was an amazing Golden Retriever. He was handsome, he could strut, he gets washed 2 or 3 times a day, so he just fluffed around and flowed, and Daniel was indeed a beauty. And then they had Seba, who's a standard poodle, and of course she's trimmed in everywhere possible, has a hairdo that's piled up, look like a puffed up football helmet, and she was a princess. After she won the prize, she sat in the circle amongst all her ribbons and trophies and just kind of, queen-like sat there. Now, Daniel the Golden Retriever, I have to admit, he really didn't much care first place, second place, but that was how the evening was taken up. See, we have a split television. One's downstairs and one's upstairs. But Bourbon the Whippet, that was the hound dog.
That's who you were pulling for.
Well, they had an incredible basset hound. About that long with ears down to here. And we love the basset hound. We want them to pick the basset hound. But, the judges sometimes don't see it our way. Now, the guy that does the final judge, they keep him in a closet for 2 days so he doesn't know who won what from where. And they take him off, and this judge is a retired naval commander, and he walked around with a lower lip like he was a naval commander, and then of course went out and picked the wrong dog. But anyway, that's
like a Navy guy would do. You mean talking from an Army guy?
What would those Navy guys? Sea dogs.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that's how the competition went last night, and people. We laugh about it. People seriously are involved in this, and they have their favorites, but the website today was just packed, including my darling daughter Karen, who is also an owner of a Golden Retriever, and I'm sure Steve Rinke, he has 2 of them, and they always, anytime one of our dogs kind of finished first, Steve would go off in a huff because they didn't pick their retrievers. So anyway, that's why I thought
that is way off of third base. Yeah. I want to say it again. You were right. That was way out there, and I didn't expect us to go there today, but I'm glad you did, because that's what this show is about. We got to keep them guessing.
We do.
So what's next?
We can go. I have categories of Basketball, Gophers.
Let's go. Let's talk basketball. What the heck?
Okay.
There's some things out there to talk about.
Yes, there certainly is.
So you'd like to talk Gopher basketball first?
We'll talk Gopher basketball. Although I have to admit, last night I don't know if we're going to go there, but Michigan State beat Illinois in Champaign, and now the rankings go Maryland, Michigan State, and I don't think Illinois comes up till about 4th. And Maryland's what was it? They have 3 losses, 15-3, I believe the record is.
Okay.
And they're a very good basketball.
They're a very good basketball team, no doubt about that. You want to talk about Penn State and the Gophers from Saturday, I think it was?
I do. And you always know that playing in Happy Valley is no easy chore. They go in there and it is a tough place to go. The crowd is, how you say, enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And but
yeah, they haven't had. I'll say it this way: Penn State hasn't had much to cheer about in basketball for the last X number of years, and they've got a pretty nice team this year. So I can see why they're going a little crazy.
And I did like to see, like Danny Arturo, 32 points, good solid effort inside the paint. I want to say to him, I see a guy that big shooting a 3. It's still just a little. He's not bad at him.
He's not bad.
But I just think, God, I would never let him out of the paint.
Well, I didn't get to see. I didn't get to watch any of it. I heard parts of the second half, and when I checked it out at halftime, the Gophers were down significantly. What was it? 36-22 at half.
36-22.
Yeah, 36-22 at the half. So I kind of gave up listening on them because I'm in the car with my wife, and she doesn't want to listen to Gopher basketball. But every once in a while, I'd sneak over there, and by gosh, I turned it over there, and they had just cut it to 3 on a 3-pointer and a 3-point play, and Arturo's going to the free throw line to make this a nice, less than a 1-possession ball game, and he misses the front end. Penn State goes down, nails a 3. We miss the shot. They come down. They get a bucket and 1, and all of a sudden it's a 9-point game and it's over.
Well, I'll tell you what, that college game, especially with the 3s, the 12 points is nothing in this game. And you figure, well, you got a lead, you can play it, you can sit on it. You sit on a 12-point lead in Division I basketball, you're going to be really getting hammered on that. So, and that's kind of what happened. But I have to also, I want to point out Marcus Carr started doing that, going to the bucket and get tossed on the ground. I don't think he can do a layup without landing on his back. And I worry about that sometimes. But he is an all-out type ball player and fun to watch.
So you got to listen to Mike Grimm do Gopher football and or Gopher basketball.
Yeah.
And for the first time when I was listening to the game on Saturday was the first time I ever really heard him go after the officials. And one official in particular who he said multiple times, and I didn't listen for very long, but he used the term swallowed his whistle. He swallowed his whistle again as the Gophers were driving to the bucket and being thrown to the floor, from what I can tell, because I'm listening to it on the radio. And then afterwards he went after that he was playing, that the referee was making his calls to favor the home crowd, to make them happy, to appease them. And he called them out by name on the radio. And I thought, you know what? That's a good way to get your hands slapped, Mike Grimm.
Why do they call it home court advantage? And it's just, and especially in that place, because face it, they're enthusiastic. In fact, they're crazy, and and they're in there, and they do the same thing with the wrestling teams. They go in there and fill out, and we haven't even stopped by that one yet. But
we're gonna have to.
But I tell you, I think that the Gophers, they've got Iowa on Sunday.
Must win, in my mind. Must win. If they want to go to the NCAA tournament, they have to win that game, because they can't lose to Iowa twice.
And when somebody was saying, I was in a brackology thing, and they says the Big Ten could put 11 in the show, including Minnesota, who's 12-11.
I agree. I mean, the Gophers have shown it at times that they're worthy of being in the tournament, and then other games they've shown that they are unworthy. And to me, okay, you go to Penn State and you lose by 6, on the road. Penn State's probably in the tournament. Does that mean you should be in the tournament? Probably. But pretty soon somebody's going to start doing the number test, and unfortunately, They're not going to take 11 teams out of the Big Ten.
No, they're not.
They're not going to even take 10, and I doubt that they'll take 9, but they might take 8. They might take 8, so somebody's going to get left out. Going to the NIT would be a disappointment. I'd hate to say that, but the NIT can be a good thing too, because if you get to play for another 3 full weeks, that's another 3 full weeks of practice rather than going to the NCAA tournament, losing the first round, and then you go home.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I want them to play in the big dance. I want to see them make a run, because I think they can have some fun. They could win a couple of games. But I don't see anything past that. But the game on Sunday against Iowa, in my mind, is a must-win. If they don't win that, I think the committee looks the other way, and they're an afterthought, unless they would like run the table in the Big Ten tournament.
But you know, a team like the Gophers is capable of that, of playing in the finals. They've done it with less talent than this team has. Well, I don't know about that, but
yeah. So
it's a strange situation. It really is.
Did you watch the Gopher women the other night?
I did. They did not look good.
Hoof to Mackey.
No.
Yeah, you want to talk about making your chances tough to make the NCAA tournament? That was one that they needed to win at home. Tough to lose there by as many points as they did to Michigan. Hey, they're a decent basketball team. They're not a great basketball team. That's just fact. They got to go to Ohio State and they got to go to Michigan State in the next few days.
And that's tough. But you know, this is Whalen's second year, and even because considering we're in Minnesota, we're hardly in the heart of basketball country. Although there'd be people who argue that with me. You got to give her 5 years, because I think that woman's really capable of some serious coaching. And,
yeah, I think we change coaches way too often. NFL, NBA, all of them. It's just like, well, you got to give them time to get their stuff done. So women basketball in a tough spot. Softball went 3-2 last weekend. Already got their season started. Their 2 losses were to Florida and Mississippi.
Are they in Arizona?
They were in Florida last week, I think, and they are in Florida again this weekend. Anyway, they lost to Missouri and to Florida, 2 SEC teams, and they play another 4 times this weekend. 3 of those are against SEC teams, all ranked. So the Gophers are going to find out what they're made of this weekend. Pfizer went 2-2. Amber, the pitcher, 2-2. You can watch all those games. I didn't realize you can watch them all on ESPN3. So, if you're sitting around this weekend not doing anything, I think they play at like 10:30 Friday morning, 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and then like 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, and then 8:30 Sunday morning. I think those were Eastern times. So you never know. You could get up early and watch some softball, and the Gopher baseball gets started this weekend.
They're in Arizona.
And they're in Arizona, and they're very excited about their pitching staff and this team. I think they have a legitimate shot to win the Big Ten. So let's hope that things get started. Johnny Anderson from Nashwauk, he's been there forever, and it seems like he's got a pretty good team brewing. And I suppose that should that bring us to wrestling,
okay.
or do you want to? What else did you have there?
No. This is their comeback effort from Penn State, and they did. They had a good comeback effort, and then it just kind of fell short and it fell apart. But
as my brother would say, if and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. And it didn't happen. They didn't win, so they don't get. There's no consolation prizes, right, Gerald Bolstead? That's what he said. We don't want no consolation. We don't want any whatever gifts that we played good enough to be close. We want to win.
I want to just quickly go through what happened at Penn State. And so it was like we forfeited 125.
Okay, you want to talk about that for a minute, because I want to talk about this. What the heck are we doing forfeiting a weight?
Well, you can't forfeit a weight against a team like Penn State and think you're going to win.
Well, I don't. That comes back to our conversation from last week. We aren't trying to win.
Yeah.
There's
2 other guys in the weight class. I don't know why they didn't throw somebody in there, but Brandon Meredith is no fish, and so if you're tossing somebody out to get whipped on, but he wasn't there.
I mean, you might as well get him out there and get him experience, even if he gets his butt whooped. At least he got a chance to warm up and wrestle on TV, for Pete's sake.
And it didn't help. The next 133, Roman Bravo Young tech fouled Bo Dryden, who was going to be our savior, and then. We finally got on the board with Braden Lee, and Ryan Thomas, and then Bailey O'Reilly got major decision. Mark Hall and Devin Skatska, and probably the wrestling match of that was the grapple right there. That was fantastic. Mark Hall is good.
Mark Hall's the best.
Yeah,
isn't he?
Yeah,
he's the best at his weight class.
Yes, he is.
So,
and then the other match that I really liked was at 197. The Shakur Rashid. He decisions Garrett Jones. Garrett Jones he's going to be a very fine wrestler.
Okay.
He's right at 200 pounds. He can jump up and down and play a light heavyweight thing. You know, I wish the college right now, high school has a 220-pound weight class. College does not. And well, that'll give it 11 weights or whatever. But I think that there's
what's wrong with 11? It's because it's an odd number?
I don't know. It's, but I take...
They got 9 innings in baseball, it seems to...
There's a lot of guys.
Yeah.
That fit 220 pounds that are probably pretty good athletes, and they either have to cut 20 pounds
or they got to put
weight on. And then my old friend Gable Stevenson, he made your decision, Seth Nervals, and Gable Stevenson is going to wrestle the kid from Iowa on Sunday, Siosepi, and Siosepi is ranked. He is ranked number 2, or I think, no, he lost to the Michigan boy, Mason Paris, so he'd probably be ranked number 3. And I think right now, Gable's been kind of avoiding some of these guys, and now we've reached the end of the line here.
It's time to go to work.
It's time to go to work.
It's got to go to work.
They're going to have to sit in the seed meeting and say, well, who did he beat? Mm-hmm. And I beat Sam Jones from Keokuk, isn't going to cut it. And so,
Nothing against Sam Jones, by the way, but
no, whoever he is.
So here's the deal. So was the coach wrong on this 125 on just taking the forfeit?
I don't know that he even had somebody else to put in there because apparently McKee was sick, and when they came down, he wasn't, and so they get down there, and all of a sudden he got sick, and
okay, I might let that fly. All I have to say after the dual score, after the final score, there are Iowa and Penn State and Ohio State, and then there's everybody else. This is the Gophers are ranked 5 in the nation here a couple of weeks ago. I think they're 7 this past week, whatever it was. They're not even close.
Well, and keep in mind, when you're going through the regular season, you have one thing in mind, and that's tournament.
Yeah. And
so that's the focus. And so you sit down and you can determine where your weights are going to be, especially in high school, because kids shuffle around a lot more. And now all of a sudden, Big Ten tournament, going to be in Rutgers. Somebody was asking, there's a couple of tickets available. Do you want to go to Rutgers to the Big Ten tournament? Anyway,
yes, it was the answer, but I can't.
Big Ten tournaments are really good. They call them the mini NCAAs.
Sure.
And and most of the other ones are going to go on. So we will see that from there. But I'm going to take a look at the matches that are going to be on Sunday. The guy that didn't wrestle, Pat McKee, he gets Spencer Lee, who's number 1 in the nation.
And what time is this at on Sunday?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. This is before or after the Gopher basketball game? I didn't even look at the time.
This is after. No, it's at 7:30. I'm sorry.
Okay, so this is Sunday night.
This is Sunday night.
Oh boy, they'll stretch that thing out till 10 p.m.
Well,
yeah. Okay. So anyway,
I take a look. Mitch McKee is going to wrestle. That's at 145. Well, 141. Max Morin, who's ranked number 3, McKee's number 5, and it just go on. Pat Legault at 149 wrestles Braden Lee, who's number 7. Number 1, Michael Kermer, that's at 174, wrestles Devin Skatska. So these matches are coming around, and Cassio Seppi,
the heavyweight,
ranked number 3 in the nation, and I saw him. He can go.
Yeah, there should be a few good matches in there, but there's going to be other ones in that match that are, other than that duel, that are going to be very one-sided. Would you agree with me?
Oh, I think that there's going to be some falls, and they're going to come quick. You don't see a lot of falls at that level. So, anyway, that is something to watch out for, and it's going to be a good one.
High school wrestling got their team event underway this week. The quarters and all that stuff were yesterday, and the semifinals are set for
Thursday?
For Friday afternoon down at I think it's in Proctor.
Oh, really?
Is where it's at this year.
Region 7.
Yeah, so Rapids and Hibbing on one side, and Malacca and Mora, I think, on the other. Does that sound possibly right?
That
on the other
right.
side. So those will go off on Friday. I had a chance to talk to your good friend Noah the other day, who had to inform me that his season is over due to the knee injury that he suffered during football. So there will be no wrestling at the individual the following week. So I hate to break that to you on live TV, but
no, I'll tell you, Noah has been one of my favorite to watch for years. You know that, and he gives whatever he has, and he doesn't know any better than that. So, hey, whatever happens, he's a senior, he's graduating. I want to wish him nothing but luck, and hope to get a chance to see him compete. I think he can compete at the junior college level in football, and I think he wants to. So let's see what happens.
Could be fun. Boys hockey, as long as we're went into the high school, we might as well go there first. I'm looking looking over at what you got there. The boys hockey team, the seedings are already done. The Broncos get the number 5 seed, and they will be playing at Eveleth Gilbert Mesabi East Cherry next Tuesday at the Hippodrome in downtown Eveleth for the opening round. So the Broncos on Thursday play Lake of the Woods in their final home game, or their final regular season game and home game. So it's Parents' Night. If you're watching this Thursday afternoon or something, hustle over to Bronco Arena. Game starts at 7. And
Is that tomorrow?
That's tomorrow. And you should be able to see that game on Midco Channel 7. Hopefully with the new agreement between the radio station and KCC TV. I think that will be the first broadcast that will be done. Have to check with Darcy to make sure that that's going to happen, but I believe that's the case. And then they'll get Eveleth, who they've lost to twice already this year. And the last time that they played at Bronco Arena, Eveleth scored with like 5.4 seconds left to beat them 4-3. And there was some, how do I put this? There were some things said in that game.
Gee, imagine that.
And especially, and I might get myself in trouble because I'm hearing it from one side, of course, but mostly coming from Eveleth towards the Bronco bench and to the players, and using some derogatory language. So I'm going to be very interested to see if the Broncos can pull the upset, the 4-5 upset. Not that that's a big upset, but the fact that they've been beat twice, if they can go down to Eveleth next Tuesday and pull the upset and play at Amsoil the following Saturday.
Oh, that'd be great.
So that's what's on the table for the Broncos. They're I got to think about this. They are 12-11-1 on the season, so game 25 on Thursday to round out the season.
All in all, would you say that they had a satisfactory season? I would think they would, huh?
I said they would go around 500. Yeah. I think when they were, and I'm going off my memory now, I think at one point they were 8-4-1. And so to end up maybe at 12 or 13-11-1 or 12-12-1, I would think that stings a little bit. Just a little bit. I think they were thinking they'd get to 14 or 15 wins, but making a run in the playoffs and playing at Amsoil would cure a lot of what ails that team, if anything ails them. But they've had to deal with some injuries, and losing Jordan Smith here last week to a broken ankle definitely did not help that situation. No. Losing a top 2 line forward, top 6 forward there. So, but next man up, right? And so some of those younger kids have had to step up, and they will.
Yeah.
Basketball teams, girls just had like 11 days off, 10 days off, some incredible number. Crazy. They lost to Esco last night at home. They get Little Fork Big Falls on Friday. Varsity only game against Little Fork down there on Friday. So that's kind of a big one. I think it's Friday. Got to make sure I got that in my mind the right way. Anyway, I believe it's on Friday, and so make sure if you want to get out and watch that, you should do that. Broncos boys basketball team lost to Northwoods last night, 90-61. They were only down by a point at half. Played a really good first half, I was told, but then the Northwoods took over. That's why they're one of the best teams in northeastern Minnesota, and showed it, beating them 90-61. Broncos have had a tough sledding since about 2 games into the new year. They've only won 1 time, I think, in the last 9, and I'm not trying to be mean about that. Just the fact that people will look at they say, well, they were 1-8 in their last 9 games. Well, go back and look at the schedule that they've played. It's been crazy hard. Probably the only loss in there that I think that they would go and like to take back as a game that they probably should have won or could have won was against Eveleth. Eveleth is better than when the Broncos beat them the first time, but they've lost to Hibbing, they've lost to Virginia, they lost to Warroad, they lost to MIB. Very close, which is a very good team. They lost to Aiken and Hinckley Finlayson down at the North-South Challenge last week. So they played some quality opponents. Aiken beat Virginia the following day last week, and Virginia is one of the top teams in northeastern Minnesota in AA. So when I look at the schedule, and I talked to Amos the other day, I said, pretty tough sled. And he goes, oh, the schedule is murder right now. And it is. And so all of a sudden you get into that stretch with these kids, and all of a sudden it's just like, no matter how hard you work, how good you try to be, things don't go your way, and it can be frustrating.
No, it really can be. And there used to be a poem about wrestling, and I read it in the Guillotine one time, but it was loosely about this guy that's training because he's going to wrestle on Friday, and he's cutting weight, and the room's just gruesome, and it just goes through all this misery. And now it's Friday night. He gets dressed. He goes out and looks at the mat, and he said, "Mud Fudd, look at the stud. I wish I wasn't such a pud." It's like he killed himself to go out and get hit, and it's just, and that's kind of the way of sports sometimes. You just train as hard as you win. Now you got a chance to put it out.
You want to talk combine, or you want to talk trades?
We can do either one.
Well, I'd like to talk about the trades because this honestly, folks, I'm 50 years old. And I don't remember a time in Minnesota sports when we had a week like the last week plus that we have had. I think we talked about the Timberwolves trades last week. That was on Thursday, but a lot of that stuff happened on Wednesday and Thursday. If you talk about what the Timberwolves did, which basically they kept Karl Anthony Towns and Josh Okogie, and everybody else is gone.
They have a whole different team. They showed the picture at the beginning of the year. A couple of coaches.
It's crazy, and it's going to be interesting. This team, I don't think is. We talked about this. We don't know how much defense they're going to play. They weren't playing much defense in the first place, but it's going to be interesting to see how this all pulls together. And it was crazy. I have to admit, I tried to watch the Timberwolves game the other night against. It was on Monday night. They played Toronto, who's won 15 in a row, by the way.
Yeah, they're very good.
They're very good. And the Timberwolves lost on the road by like 11. It was 75-74 at the half. 75-74 at the half, and this was after
defense.
This was after the Wolves had scored 81 on Saturday night against the Clippers to set a team record for most points in a half. So what I'm trying to say here is, in a really long form, is that I don't think we're going to see much defense. They're going to be throwing up threes and running around and doing whatever they can. I think that's the kind of team that Karl Anthony Towns and Ryan Saunders want to have. So if you're a Timberwolves fan, I was trying to watch. I couldn't watch it because I didn't know anybody.
I
didn't know the players. I felt like this is my team, or this is my basketball team, and I don't know anybody. So it was very difficult to try and watch. But I think we're going to see over the last 8 weeks of the season, 9 weeks with whatever is left, we're going to see a lot of points scored, and a lot of points scored against the Timberwolves, and that's the way it goes. And I'm not saying right or wrong on the trades. They had to do something. It was going ugly. They had 11 and the 13 game losing streak prior to that. They had to do something. And
usually it's a this or a that and a tick and a tweet. Not this time.
Not this time.
They rubbed it right out. That's true.
Let's talk about the Twins next. Of course, when we were here last week, we were talking about Verdugo being traded and the Dodgers and everybody being involved, and then Boston got cold feet on Gratterall's arm, on his shoulder, and his whatever, and they backed off and said they're not going to sign off on it. And then I thought the Twins would kind of say, well, we're out. We can't do anything about it.
They wanted that pitcher.
But they wanted that pitcher. They wanted it. They wanted Medea from the Dodgers, and they did it. They went out and got what they wanted. They basically swapped pitchers and some cash, like $10 million cash. I mean, that's a lot of money in my mind. To a baseball team, it's not much. But and another player. So the Twins were resilient. They wanted that guy, and they went after him, and they got him. And I know there's some people out there that are sad to see Graterol go. I'm one of them. I was gonna love watching him pitch, and I'll have to watch him pitch for the Dodgers. And I saw something in the paper in the last few days. Falvey from the Twins said he's got great potential. The Dodgers are gonna love him. We wish him best of luck. It was nothing. Whatever. This is just something that we need to do.
Whatever happens, the Dodgers have built themselves an extraordinary baseball team.
Yeah.
And I think that the Twins want to have that, and so they do it with a kind of an aggressiveness. And I think that that's their ball playing style.
Yeah.
I like it, and I think that the front office emulates that type of thing. That the people are going to say, yeah, they're right. These are the ones that, we're the ones that can get the job done. I just know that Boston wouldn't have got rid of those people if those players were going to the American League.
It's a good point. It's a very good point.
And Mookie, they don't want to play against Mookie.
No, and you just wonder. A lot of people were after management for sending Mookie away. There had to be something there, and I don't know what it was, but there was something there, and it is what it is. They wanted Verdugo for some reason. You know what I'm saying? So
the other thing is, if I can find it here, but Carlos Beltran disregarded pleas from the Astro teammates, and he and the assistant coach set this whole thing up. If anybody, especially a guy like Beltran, an incredible baseball player. I mean, I loved watching him catch. I loved watching him play. But the opportunity to cheat was just too much for him to handle, and So what did you think of what Marwin Gonzalez said yesterday at training camp? I didn't hear that.
He basically came in. He said, "I'm remorseful. I regret what we did, and whatever else." And a couple of the tweeters in the world out there said, if you want forgiveness, you better say that we did it wrong. And then the sooner you do that, the quicker, the better, the more you're going to be whatever. And I think in Twins fans' eyes, by the time the season rolls around, Marwin Gonzalez will be looked at as a Twin. And everything will be forgotten. Well, maybe not forgotten, will be forgiven. And we're going to move on, and he's a Twin. And I think he did it right. And he could have taken a lot of ways with that whole thing. And the Astros are still kind of thumbing their nose at everybody, saying, well, yeah, it happened, but it really didn't happen as bad as... No. Well, there's smoke, there's usually a big fire behind it. And,
there is.
And so, anyway...
I got a couple more tidbits here if you're ready for them.
No, I'll still talk more trades.
Okay.
Because then the Minnesota Wild said, we got to get involved.
They did.
And they traded one of the fan favorites, Mr. Zucker, and his wife, who... Well, she's out there ramrodding things around. They've got their foundations, and they take care of the kids, and they're always doing stuff in the community. And he gets sent to Pittsburgh, and of course, Guerin was with Pittsburgh last year, and he was trying to get Zucker last year. Now he's getting rid of Zucker, and we'll see what they brought in. But they got a first-round pick out of the deal, and a couple of players that may or may not fill that void. And so the Wild just couldn't sit there and watch everybody else get involved. And Guerin came out and said today, last year when the Wild went and made their trades under Fenton, they went right in the tank. Everybody was ticked off, and poor us, and blah, they're trading everybody away. Mikael Granlund and blah, 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 and Niederreiter, our buddies are all gone. And Guerin basically said, you start dogging, you're going to go down the road too. Because what happened last year isn't going to happen again. And then they came out and kicked the snot out of Vegas last night. And
that's why one of my favorite shows is called Moneyball. And it's just like, when he says, well, you bought my contract. He says, that's because the Yankees paid a third of it. So, I mean, whoever owns these contracts, it's sometimes very complicated what they're doing. And money is involved.
Yeah, it's been a wild week for a Minnesota sports fan. If I don't know what's left. I don't think. Of course, everybody's saying that Diggs is going to be gone. He keeps tweeting things out and saying it's been a good ride and it's been fun and we did what we could. And he's basically saying, trade me. I want out of here because you're not going to throw me the football. And frankly, if you can get rid of him, let him go.
So hey,
we'll bring another guy in.
The rumors of Tom Brady are amazing. I mean, whether it's going to be Denver or
Indianapolis, Vegas,
Dallas. It's just like, here's the golden ghost going to come and save your team. When in fact he cannot.
It's a tough with one guy. He can definitely give your teammates a boost of confidence so that things are going to happen. It was interesting. My son-in-law sent me a link the other night to a site on ESPN if you want to go look at it, about how the dominoes are going to fall with 144 different players involved. So who's going to be the first domino out of here? And of course, the first domino did kind of fall the other day when Philip Rivers from San Diego was basically said, we're parting ways. We're not going to be here together.
No, and everybody forgets about Rivers, and he's not a bad quarterback.
He's not a bad quarterback. So there was maybe the first domino that falls. So now there's an opening in San Diego. So who wants to go after Philip Rivers? And who's going to go after Tom Brady? And who can afford the contracts and whatever else and start pushing money around? And so the thing is, which domino falls first? So it was kind of, you could flip to a player on the app and say, they're going to go to this player. And then they had the predictions of what was going to happen. And it was just kind of like, holy smokes. Not only did somebody put in a lot of work, but to think about what happens. One of them, which was surprising, had Kirk Cousins leaving the Vikings, parting ways, and Kirk ending up in San Diego as their starting quarterback. And guess who would become the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings? Teddy Bridgewater was the prediction that he might be.
Was the one I would have picked.
And it was just kind of like, oh my. So it was interesting. So it could be a very interesting off-season. Once the free agency hits middle of March and
the draft coming up too. This is in no small way. Look at all the young quarterbacks that are 3-4 years in the league and they're ripping the league up. And so everybody's going to be looking for that plum diamond in that rough because they're there.
They're there, but you don't know which one's the best one. And of course that's what makes it fun. So
Tim Tebow.
All right, what do you got over there? I got one other tidbit, but I'll save that for the end.
I wanted to just say, bring us up to date about Zion Williamson. He is right now Williamson has done nothing but continue to validate his rapidly emerging superstardom for the Pelicans, and right now he's matching Kareem Olajuwon. He's matching 4 or 5 other guys that are now in the Basketball Hall of Fame.
As far as numbers,
he got 31 points in the Blazers on Tuesday, and he's averaging 20 points a game for the first out of 10 games. 7, he's averaging 20 points. Nobody's ever done that for a long time. Grant Hill was another one that is done it. The great Jordan.
Yeah, and ESPN will have him on about 8 times in the next 2 months. Because they are all over Zion. They didn't get a chance to show him early in the season, so they're going to show him now.
He also missed the game on Saturday because of an ankle.
Okay.
So I just thought I'd kick that in there. No.
What's next?
This 4 Gophers have been invited for spring NFL Combine. And this is Carter Laughlin, Tyler Johnson, Camille Martin, and Antoine Winfield. There's no surprises in that bunch.
No.
There'll be 337 prospects that are going to be in Indianapolis from February 24th to March 1st. It might be interesting to see what those guys.
Well, you know, the great thing about that, George, is all you got to do is turn on the NFL Network at about 9 o'clock in the morning. You can sit there and watch them guys run up and down the field and run through cones and whatever else for like 8 hours. And they'll analyze for you and they'll tell you what was good and bad. And I'm just like, who's got that kind kind of time.
Well,
don't most people have jobs that anyway? So
they're working, and these guys are working tremendously hard right now to even. And also, the University of Minnesota has got home and home with Cal.
Can I say? It being in 2028 and 2029 kind of was like.
I'm just telling you, they plan ahead, Tim.
You put that dog story out at the start of the show.
Yeah.
That was kind of like, holy. I understand. We put the schedules are done 10, 12 years in advance. I get that. But I'm just like, wow. That's
just one. You and Eli can make a.
We might.
Trip on that.
Well, let's see now. That's in 8 years.
Yes.
I think the home was in 2028, so that'll be in 8 years. He'll be 13. Yeah, that might be a good game for us to go watch.
On Saturday,
I
watched Quinn Buckner and Randy Whitman bring in Bobby Knight into Assembly Hall in Bloomington. Dick Vitale is just drowning in tears. And so they bring him out, they introduce him at halftime, and Buckner and Whitman walk him out. The crowd goes absolutely nuts. Pretty soon he's in the front row behind the table, and he's standing up there clapping and cheering, defense, defense, leading the crowd. And I'm thinking, it must have been hard for him to do that. We know how proud he is about everything he's ever done. And he hadn't been in that stadium that arena, that gym since 2000. That's 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah.
But we also know Father Time is ticking.
It is.
And so sometimes you have to swallow your pride.
You do. And I think Buckner and Whitman talked them into this.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Other people, here, you have
to do this.
And once in a while, just every once in a while, the kids are right. And so I wanted to bring that up. And good old Carlos. Now, one other thing I wanted to bring up was the United States Senate. You don't think they do anything, but they do. They're looking in and investigating a lot of rhetoric and images that we hear about college sports are as antiquated as leather helmets, Senator Blumenthal said. And what makes me angry, because I think the present state of college sports is exploitive. Now, the question I have is, the United States Senate has passed 20 bills in the last year. 20, that's it. And so all of a sudden, they got time for this, and I'm not sure that this belongs in the United States Senate. I'm not sure what they can do with it.
Yeah, I think when the California legislature got into it, that opened up the box where they possibly are going to have to do something about it.
Well, that's what he said. It's clear to me the imperative of national consistency, fairness, and equity requires a federal solution, said Douglas Gurrid, the chancellor at the University of Kansas. And and I know that they've got more spots on their reputation right now than you can believe. So they might have to come up with something. But they had the president of NCAA on Capitol Hill, and there's a lot of people that this is a concern. And the other thing is because there's so much money involved. We're coming up to March Madness, and the money that's
thrown around.
It's just incredible. So anyway, I wanted to tell you that the Senate is still up to good snuff, and this is bad. This is bad.
This is bad?
Yes. The coronavirus is creating an NHL hockey stick shortage. 75% of the hockey sticks used in the NHL come from China. In the old days, all our slap shots were made in Canada, but
it came from War Road and from Christian Brothers, and
then they're starting to put just a little bit of hijinks, and all the players is thinking, I can't get all the sticks I want, so they're not banging it on the boards, and they're not slapping it on the ice,
and they're not throwing them into the stands. The kids,
all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah. Anyway, I do know. And this is kind of the point is, if we think we're not interdependent in this life, this is what you got to take a look at. We are very interdependent.
It'll be very interesting to see how that parlays into the next till June, really, because some of those teams are going to be playing.
Okay, and one more thing.
One more thing.
That we didn't bring up last week, and that was that Willie Wood passed away. He was a Hall of Fame defensive back, and I remember watching him as a kid thinking, how could you pass around this guy? What would you do? You watched every move. He was an amazing athlete and a very fine defensive back. And he died at the age of 83. But he was part of an incredible team.
Yeah.
And when I was 10 years old, I knew every one of them. And,
sure.
I always knew Willie Wood.
You always knew Willie Wood. Yeah. I believe that. So.
So like here, Gophers face Iowa on Sunday. That's at noon on ESPN. And the Gophers women travel to Ohio State. That's on Sunday. This is on Big Ten Plus, like you say. I don't know how you do it, but you kind of gotta pay some money.
Gotta pay some cash. Baseball. We got to go back.
Okay.
Because they came out with a new rule that was approved today officially, and I hadn't heard about this rule. And when somebody told me about this last night, I thought they were kidding, but it's true. When you bring a relief pitcher in this season, they have to face a minimum of 3 batters.
Wow.
So there's no bringing in the lefty to face the lefty and then yanking them and bringing in the righty to go back to the righty. You bring a pitcher in, he's got to face 3 batters, a minimum.
That changes the game.
That changes the game, and it's going to speed the game up because these managers aren't going to be over managing the games. So they're looking for ways to speed the game up, and this is definitely one of them because you're not going to see somebody come in, run him in, 2.5 minutes of commercials. He throws 2 pitches, and here we go again. Let's run another guy in, and it's another. So you're not going to see.
Even if it happens at the end of the inning, he still has to continue.
Got to face a minimum of 3 batters. That is my understanding, and it didn't have anything to do with the innings. Now it might come out that I didn't read that far enough along, but that is a rule that is very interesting.
Well, yeah, considering that if you're thinking I'm going to bring in this pitcher, and you have to take a look not just who's at the plate, but who's behind him as well.
Well, and then the other manager can bring his pinch hitters in. Yeah. So it's going to make the game a lot more interesting. Yeah. Maybe we'll see some starters and other relievers going a little bit further along. And maybe not. Who knows? Maybe it'll be just the 3 batters, and then I'm bringing the next guy in. So it'll be fun to see. Of course, it's Valentine's Day on Friday.
It is.
And so I was driving out here tonight, and I'm like, how are we going to end the show? Because we talk about music or what you're reading or whatever. So my question this week is, what about Valentine's Day? Is it a ripoff, or is it a true day when you give Sue the card and the flowers and you take her out for dinner, or do things change? Because I'm getting older now, and so I need to.
No, you can always count a little ace in a hole with a card. You can never go wrong, and
never go wrong.
Never go wrong giving the card. Like, I knew this guy, and you know him too. He used to give the card, and he'd take it off and put it in a box. And about 5-6 years later, he'd bring it out again.
Yes.
And it's just like, I don't do that. But I have seen that happen. No, I will come up with the card, but I'm a little bit, who do I love most? Well, that's kind of me. And so for Valentine's Day, this is my Eagles is coming in.
Oh.
My 17 or 15 volume Eagles. I went through my Eagle collection. I only have 4 of them. I felt really good about that. So that's coming in on Friday. And it's, when you buy these records, you look up and you say, they have little packages. Well, they've tossed in an Eagles t-shirt. Well, it's $40 to buy an Eagles t-shirt, but they give you one for $20.
Well, there you go.
Look at the money I'm saving.
Absolutely. You tell your wife that, it's taken care of, right?
Yeah, she's
too smart for that. That's right.
So I suppose what we could probably do, because Fridays are kind of special with us. We oftentimes go in the solarium and listen to music. So with any luck at all,
that's where you'll end up.
That's where we'll end up and listen to music. When I can get her to sit down and listen for a while, oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, it is. Yeah. You should listen more often. I'm watching the television right now. What's just no end to the coach's nightmares?
We're seeing the Ohio State kidnapping, rape charges against 2 of the football players, and from what I read last night or this morning, I'm not sure where it was. They apparently videotaped this thing and made her state her name and that it was consensual. I'm just like, whoo, I don't know.
Anyway.
Final thought. One of my uncles on my dad's side, 89 years old, passed away yesterday, and Dave lived life to the fullest. It was one of those things, and he lost my dad's sister here 6, 7, 8 years ago, and he fought the good fight, but Father Time caught up with him yesterday. So my condolences to his family. 9 kids.
Ooh,
big family.
Ooh.
When they got together for Christmas this year, what did they say? 75, I think, there for Christmas.
Ooh.
So Dave, he left a legacy, as they say. He left behind a mark on the cherry and iron area. And so my thoughts are with him. He's up in heaven playing poker again with my grandpa and grandma and my aunts and uncles. Pinochle and poker being played up in heaven today. I can't imagine when he steps into the game how that's going to change the dynamic. But he was a great guy.
Wow. So. And there was another, I hate to bring the old bits up, but Dickie Levine.
Oh, yeah, I just found out about that like an hour ago.
Yeah, and he was my quarterback in 5th grade, you know, and so I knew the kid for a long time. I knew his wife and his children and all like that. So
yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely to the family.
Howard was as good a friend as we got.
Yeah, absolutely. Coached a lot of years.
Yeah.
We went through a lot of things with Howard. So yeah, yes, absolutely. Our condolences to them. And it's not the way you always like to end the show, but sometimes you got to take care of those things when it's time.
As a math teacher, did you notice my T-shirt?
Yeah, I noticed your T-shirt, and I was thinking about going in and over there and zooming in on it to end the show.
I've had people look at me and not get the joke.
Yeah, 5 out of 4 people have trouble with those fractions, and of course, as a math teacher, that can get to be a little crazy. And so, anyway, we're done.
Yes, we're done.
All right, have a good one, everybody.
Thanks.